Anxiety speaks, but somewhere along the way you learned not to listen, and it's not your fault. The world teaches us to keep moving, to stay productive, to pretend everything's fine. But what if I told you that the tightness in your chest, the racing thoughts, the silent, sleepless nights are messages? Messages you've been ignoring for far too long. Because anxiety isn't just a symptom, it's a language, an inner signal, and the more you try to silence it, the louder it gets. You might think you need to stop feeling, be stronger, go back to normal. But what is normal? Living a life you never chose? Carrying burdens that were never yours? Suppressing parts of yourself just to fit in? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in depth psychology, believed symptoms are the unconscious trying to save us, trying to remind us of something we've forgotten, who we truly are. And when you keep ignoring that call, anxiety intensifies. Not out of cruelty, but out of persistence. This video is an invitation to look inward with kindness, to finally hear what your anxiety has been trying to say, something no one may have taught you to listen to. You can just let it play and listen in silence, like a quiet conversation with yourself. And if something in here resonates with you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and walk this journey with us. Sometimes the soul just needs a safe place to speak. And maybe that space starts here. Sometimes anxiety isn't a malfunction of the body, it's a whisper from the soul. Jung used to say that symptoms are encrypted messages from the unconscious. In this light, anxiety might be trying to tell you something important, that something inside you needs to change, that a part of your life no longer fits. It's like a persistent doorbell. You can try to ignore it, but it won't stop ringing until you listen. Many people think the problem lies in the symptom, but the root is often in what's being denied internally. Maybe it's a life without purpose, a job that betrays your values, or a relationship where you keep shrinking. In this case, anxiety isn't the enemy, it's a spiritual alarm. It's not against you, it's trying to wake you up. Think of a car. When a red light flashes on the dashboard, no one in their right mind smashes the light to fix the problem. But that's exactly what many people do with anxiety. They take medication without ever asking what the body is trying to say. They suppress, numb, and run even faster, as if the problem was simply feeling too much. But the soul doesn't work like that. When you ignore an internal cry for change, it turns into discomfort. And discomfort, left unattended for too long, becomes a crisis. A woman smiling through a job she secretly hates might appear fine on the outside, but inside, her soul is wilting. In that case, anxiety isn't a disorder, it's a compass. Healing doesn't begin by fighting the symptom, it begins by truly listening. Instead of asking, how can I get rid of my anxiety? Try asking, what is it trying to show me? Sometimes that shift in the question opens up everything. A man who had panic attacks every Monday eventually realized his job betrayed everything he believed in. He didn't need a label, he needed a new path. As he made small changes, talking to his boss, exploring other jobs, painting again on weekends, his symptoms began to fade. The soul, when heard, doesn't need to scream. But what if the anxiety you feel isn't just about the present, but about the parts of yourself you've been hiding for years? Anxiety often doesn't come from what's visible, but from what's been buried. Jung called this the shadow. All the parts of you that you repress, deny, or pretend don't exist. It might be that anger you learned to swallow because it's not nice to feel that. Or the fear of disappointing others, which keeps you walking on eggshells. Or that relentless perfectionism that looks like strength but hides deep insecurity. The shadow is tricky because it doesn't go away, it disguises itself. And anxiety can be the sign that something in you is trying to come out of the dark. When you avoid feeling, your body starts feeling for you. It's like a pressure cooker. You keep the lid on tight, pretend everything's fine, but inside the heat is building. Until one day, it explodes. A common example? Someone who always says, I'm okay, when they're clearly not. Or the father who keeps it all in until one day his body locks up and he breaks down. When we repress too much, symptoms become the unconscious screaming for attention, and then comes the anxiety, the insomnia, the racing thoughts. Not because you're weak, but because parts of you are begging to be seen, accepted, integrated. Healing isn't about eliminating what you feel, it's about having the courage to feel fully. What's interesting is that many people want to ease anxiety without facing the pain behind it. But you can't empty a cup without realizing it's already full. When you begin to welcome your shadow, without judgment or shame, something shifts. It's not easy to face what you've avoided for years, but it is freeing. A good place to start might be writing down, what am I hiding even from myself? Or noticing your emotional triggers. What makes you overreact? What do you judge in others that might also live in you? The shadow, when embraced, turns into light. But what if your anxiety isn't just about hiding parts of yourself, but about playing a role you were never meant to live? Few things are as exhausting as pretending to be someone you're not. Anxiety often shows up right there, in the space between your true self and the version of you the world expects. Jung used to say that the cost of living an inauthentic life is anxiety. It's like trying to hold up a house of cards in the middle of a storm. You smile, say everything is fine, post grateful quotes on social media, but deep down, something feels broken. That inner disconnection drains you, because the body always knows when you're lying to yourself. And the soul, it won't stay quiet forever. Some people spend years trying to look strong. They wake up early, check every box, carry the family, keep it all together. But at night, they cry in the shower, alone, where no one sees. It's like playing a role that the world applauds, but one that quietly destroys you. Anxiety starts to rise the moment the performance becomes unbearable. A woman once told me her panic attacks began the day she got promoted. Odd, right? But to her, that promotion meant sinking even deeper into a life she was faking, further away from who she truly was. What looked like success was actually a trap. The path back to yourself begins with a simple but powerful question. Am I living my truth, or just playing a part? That question alone can open doors. Because when you start removing the layers of expectations, performance, image, what's left is you. And that's where healing begins. It's scary to let go of the mask you've worn for so long, but it's also liberating. In this case, anxiety isn't a monster. It's a messenger, reminding you of who you were before you got lost trying to please everyone. But what if this inner calling goes even deeper? Like something bigger inside you is trying to orchestrate your entire life? There's a part of us that quietly watches everything. Jung called it the self, the center of our psychic totality, the core of who we truly are. And when life pulls us too far away from that center, the self begins to scream. Anxiety, in this context, can be that scream, a desperate attempt from the soul to be heard. It's like a conductor trying to lead an orchestra where every instrument is playing out of sync. The result? Chaos. You feel like you're living, but everything feels disjointed and out of tune. Emotions clash, the body tires, the mind gets lost. The self doesn't want perfection, it wants wholeness. Many people feel this inner call but can't name it. They just feel a vague emptiness, a restlessness that won't go away, a discomfort they can't explain. They go to doctors, get tests done, and everything comes back normal. Because what hurts isn't physical, it's symbolic. It's the gap between what you do and what truly brings you alive. It's the absence of meaning, of connection, of presence. When you're disconnected from yourself, everything loses color. Even your wins feel empty. It's like living on autopilot. No soul, no sound. And anxiety steps in to say, hey, are you still in there? Reconnecting with yourself doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with small, honest choices. It might mean picking up something you loved but abandoned. It might mean walking away from a space where your soul no longer fits. Or maybe it's just sitting down for 5 quiet minutes and asking, what have I been ignoring inside me? Individuation, that journey toward becoming whole, is what the self longs for. And the more you avoid it, the louder it cries out. In this case, anxiety isn't the problem. It's a sign of a deeper disconnect. But what happens when that cry turns into a constant fear of the future, like your mind is stuck in a never-ending horror movie? Anxiety loves to live in the future. It paints worst-case scenarios, writes disaster scripts, and convinces you that everything will go wrong, even when nothing has happened yet. Jung believed this was a sign of disconnection from the present and a lack of inner dialogue with the unconscious. When you don't listen to what's happening right now, the mind fills the silence with fear. It's like your brain is directing a horror movie about your own life, and you're the main character. The difference? This film never ends. You go to sleep worried about problems that don't exist, and wake up tired from battles you never even fought. Take someone who's healthy, skilled, and reliable, but spends their days afraid of being fired, or someone afraid of being abandoned, even in a safe relationship. And the body is here, but the mind is racing ahead, bracing for pain that may never come. That's not intuition, it's projection. And projection often comes from unresolved experiences, inherited fears, or old emotional wounds acting as if they're still real. When the past isn't digested, the mind tries to fix it in the future, but that leads to exhaustion. The mind wasn't made to carry what hasn't happened yet. The key then is learning how to return to the present. Instead of fighting your thoughts, try asking, what's actually happening right now? Simple practices like journaling, mindful breathing, or walking without distractions can calm the mental storm. It may seem small, but choosing presence is a quiet rebellion against fear. It's like opening a window and letting sunlight into a dark, cluttered room. When you learn to stay with the now, the future starts to lose its grip. But what if your anxiety isn't just about imagined futures, but hidden truths already trying to speak through your dreams? Jung believed that dreams are the sacred language of the soul. While the conscious mind tries to stay in control, the unconscious speaks through symbols, images, and sensations during sleep. And often, the anxiety you feel during the day has already appeared in your dreams, disguised, encoded, waiting to be noticed. Falling, being chased, losing control, these aren't just random scenes, they're metaphors for what your psyche is carrying beneath the surface. When the body rests, the soul whispers. And those who learn to listen begin to understand. It's as if the unconscious is saying, if you won't hear me awake, I'll show you while you sleep. Imagine someone who constantly dreams about being late, lost, or judged. It might seem silly, but those patterns often reveal hidden truths. Maybe it's a fear of failure, unresolved guilt, or a deep sense of inadequacy that's never been addressed. Dreams aren't predictions, they're maps, clues from within, parts of you trying to communicate. Writing them down, even if they don't make sense at first, creates space for inner clarity. You begin to see patterns, recurring emotions, familiar symbols, and often they lead straight to the root of your anxiety. Creating a habit of journaling your dreams can be a powerful step. You don't need to analyze them like a psychologist, just be curious. Sometimes a single image says more than pages of overthinking. One student told me she kept dreaming she was falling off a staircase. Eventually, she realized she'd been climbing in life, professionally, without any emotional foundation. Her dream had been trying to say it all along. The body speaks, the dreams show, and when you finally choose to listen, things begin to shift. But what if the real reason for your anxiety isn't fear of the outside, but fear of truly seeing what's inside? There's a fear few people talk about, the fear of truly seeing yourself. Anxiety, in many cases, wears the mask of that fear, because looking inward requires courage, and it hurts. Some people stay constantly busy, fill every second with noise, drown in tasks, all to avoid listening to what's happening inside their own chest. It's as if stillness itself is dangerous. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." But awakening is uncomfortable, because when you look within, you don't just find light, you find wounds, memories, and forgotten parts of yourself. A person can spend their entire life holding everything together without realizing they're actually running away from themselves. Busyness becomes anesthesia, productivity becomes armor, but all it takes is one quiet Sunday, and the discomfort surfaces. That's when anxiety shows up, not as an enemy, but as a signal, as if it's saying, there's something here that needs your attention. And the more you avoid that inner dive, the louder your body shouts. The soul knows it wasn't made to be ignored. And if the unconscious isn't met with compassion, it responds with tension. The cost of avoiding self-awareness is high, and silently it adds up. But what if, instead of running, you began approaching yourself gently, patiently? You don't have to dive deep right away. You can start with small gestures, writing what you feel, checking in with yourself, sitting in silence to just notice. Jungian therapy can help. But even an honest moment with yourself is already a beginning. Just don't confuse movement with escape. The healing path asks for presence, and presence requires looking. Anxiety, in this sense, becomes an invitation to courage. And maybe, in that quiet meeting with yourself, you'll find that silence was never the enemy. Maybe it's been your greatest ally. In the end, this isn't about magic techniques or quick fixes. It's about learning how to truly listen. Silence, often avoided, is actually a doorway inward. It's in silence that the soul speaks, the body breathes, and the mind can finally rest. But we're so used to noise, notifications, opinions, responsibilities, that we forget what it's like to simply be. A moment of pause can heal more than hours of effort. And it doesn't need to be mystical or complicated. Just sit down for 5 minutes, breathe, and notice. No pressure, no judgment. Sometimes, that's all it takes for something inside you to begin shifting. A simple practice. Right before bed, what is my body trying to tell me today? Or, what made me feel uneasy and why? It's not about having perfect answers. It's about creating space to listen. You could also breathe consciously for a few minutes, just noticing the air coming in and out, reminding yourself that you're alive. Or go for a walk without headphones, just noticing your steps, the wind, the thoughts that arise. Silence is like a lake. It only reflects clearly when it stops being stirred. And it's in that calm that the chaos begins to reorganize. As Jung once said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." An awakening isn't sudden, it's a return. A slow, honest reconnection with yourself. Not about fixing anxiety, but understanding what it's trying to reveal. Because behind every symptom, there's a message. And when you begin to listen, life stops feeling like a race and starts to feel like a homecoming. But then comes the question, what will you do with everything you've just heard? How do you turn this insight into real transformation? Now that you've heard all of this, the real question is, what has your anxiety been trying to tell you that you still haven't had the courage to face? What part of you has been silenced for too long? What truth have you been avoiding that maybe needs to finally be spoken? This video isn't just about understanding anxiety. It's about starting a process of reconnection with yourself, with your truth, with your life. So take a deep breath. Create a quiet moment for yourself. Write down what you felt as you listened. Reflect on what touched you the most. And please, don't just go back to autopilot as if nothing happened. Because now you know. Now you've seen. If something here spoke to you, tell me in the comments. Let me know which part hit home. And if you want to keep going deeper on this path, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You're not alone in this journey. And this is just the beginning.